Assalamu alaikum. Myself Mohammad Nashir Rizwan, as you know. Today I have now decided that reading is obviously somewhat difficult and boring. So that's why, in order to reduce that boredom, what I've decided now to upload such videos of the project, because it's very essential for everyone to understand deeply and profoundly about what we are actually going to do. So on all those basis, I have decided now to upload such videos which obviously help you people in understanding the concept and idea about the process. Now in this video, as it's the first one, so the essential duty of mine, as I think, as a leader, to introduce the process description of that we are doing of the sulfur recovery unit. Well, well, let me start up with the process. The first thing is about the sulfur recovery unit is why does it need to install this unit? Well, increasing the quantity of H2S in a refinery forces us to install such a unit which recovers elemental sulfur. The first objective of this process is none other than to reduce the amount of H2S in the atmosphere which will be discharged in it, and to reduce it to up to 10 parts per million, which is the environmental regulation and threshold limit value. If an industry fails in doing such, will be banned and fined, and maybe there might be some serious charges and forfeits amount, or maybe there are certain types of things which cannot be covered fully. So that's why, in order to minimize all those adversities, the sulfur recovery unit is very essential. Moreover, by putting up sulfur recovery unit, it also guarantees us not only to discharge H2S, but also to recover elemental sulfur. Elemental sulfur simply means that sulfur in S form. S means simple in solid, either in solid or in liquid form. Now in sulfur recovery unit, what is happening, that it consists of basically three sections. The first section is the thermal reactor section. The thermal reactor section, or simply we can conclude this in Claus section. Now Claus section basically consists of two things. First is the thermal reactor, followed by the catalytic reactors, in which the catalytic conversion takes place. The second section is the liquid degassing section, followed by the thermal incinerator section, in which the tail gas and other sorts of gases, vent off gases and other degases and airstream gases, ejected gases, are all vent off from the stack, which is also installed in the unit. It all comprises of the sulfur recovery unit. Now besides it is another section, which is the last one, which is known as the solidification section or solidification package. Now, having said that the objective of sulfur recovery unit is solely to reduce the amount of H2S up to 10 parts per million in the atmosphere, not only doing this because it's a non-profitable business, it's a non-profitable unit. So to make it profitable, the increasing amount of H2S in the refineries produced day in and day out forces us to install a unit which not only removes, or which not only reduces the amount of H2S in the atmosphere, but also to recover sulfur in the form of element. These are the major requirements, and also like other requirements like they are related to the simple one, that environmental concerns, to protect the environment, to create good friendly environment and all these. So it, because of this, sulfur recovery unit is being installed over there. Now NR is also installing because they are charging. Now the acid gas is coming from the two sections. Now let me start with the process overall. Now the process description. Now actually, as having said that there are 4 different sections, and the sources of these sections, the gases which are coming from the section, is amine treating unit, and from the no phenolic sour water stripping unit. These are the 2 units which will be installed at NRL, from where the acid gas will come from. Now they will directly come from to the Claus section. Claus section, as being said, it consists of a thermal reactor installed at the very beginning, where the gases come directly and burn with the presence of oxygen. Not X is there, but only with oxygen, and a fuel is required to burn them. It will be done at a temperature of about 14,050 around Fahrenheit. Now there is a knockout drum present before the thermal reactor, which ultimately entrains out any liquid in the acid gases, because if liquid found in any acid gases, it will obviously increases the residence time and also reduces the capability of burning. So it is reduced in the knockout drum continuously and pumped it through the other sections, the liquid that is discharged. Now there are two different sources, the amine treating unit and the no phenolic soap stripper. Amine treating unit simply means that the gases which is obtained in the naphtha recovery unit or in the vacuum distillation or atmospheric distillation unit, they are treated in the amine treating unit, and the liquids, that is the diesel, the lube oil or the other liquid, they will be treated in no phenolic soap water stripping unit. Now after the thermal reactor section, the gases, which includes H2S, NH3, H2O somewhat, H2 and hydrocarbons also, the reaction takes place. I am going to show you the I'm going to show you the reactions that is performed in the thermal reactor section. The first reaction, if you can see, if I am successful in showing you this, the first reaction is this, where I am pointing out my finger. This H2S plus half O2 gives us H2O and SO2. This is called the combustion reaction. It's the first reaction. H2S plus half O2 gives us H2 and SO2. The first target is this. Now the second target is the Claus reaction. After the thermal reactor section, there is installed a waste heat boiler. Now the work of, now as you know that these all are exothermic reaction and releases a huge amount of energy. So what happens that waste heat recovery boilers are present and water jacketing system is also being there. So what we are seeing there, that the water gets itself in a form of steam by absorbing heat, and this heat is in this section is known as the high pressure steam. It is utilized in the catalytic reactors for the conversion. So after first stage is thermal reaction, from where up to 70 to 75% sulfur is recovered normally. Well, the technology we are using is known as the modified Claus technology, and under modified Claus technology, it is a straight through process. A straight through process simply indicates that the H2S concentration in the acid gas should be above 45 to 100% from the design capacity. Now let me inform you that we are about to design a plant with a capacity of 52 metric tons per day of produced sulfur. That is the output, 52 tons per day. 52 tons per day is our requirement, and of that our input is 5457 around pounds per hour entry of feedstock of acid gases. From this we are doing this. Now in the catalytic stage, what is done in the catalytic conversion stage, there are two types of catalysts used. One is alumina catalyst and the other one is titania. Titania simply means titanium catalyst. These two catalysts are used, 90% titanium and 10% alumina. Now these two catalysts just used to increase the rate of reaction by completely destroying the ammonia present in the sour water stripping unit. In the catalytic stage, what happens in the first reactor, what happens that from the thermal reaction section, 70% sulfur is recovered. That sulfur is in vapor form, maybe in S2, S4, S6 or S8. Now from that section, it is condensed into the sulfur condenser, and from that, if any sulfur is remain unconverted, what happens that it is preheated again because of the reduced in temperature in the condenser. It is again reheated in the reheater and sent to the first catalytic reactor. In the first catalytic reactor, normally 6 to 7% or I think 10% sulfur is recovered from there, and followed by the second catalytic reactor, followed by the third catalytic converter. If we have 3 catalytic converters, we will be having 4 condensers, and if we are having 2 catalytic reactors, then we'll be having 3 condensers. This is the requirement. And why it is necessary to use 3 different catalytic reactors? Why only one is not enough? Well, the answer is to achieve maximum conversion or maximum recovery of sulfur. We are doing this, and it is a requirement of a modified Claus technology to use it. It's a non-profitable thing, but still the steam which is produced by the exothermic reaction, and which is utilized in overall the plant, and also to run this whole sulfur recovery unit. That means the sulfur recovery unit is basically the, after the fixed charges once it is installed, is free of cost, because there will be no operating condition because of the pressure streams that are created. So there's no requirement of energy to be supplied to the recovery unit. Now after the condensers, after the final condenser, there will be two output. The first output is the tail gas. Tail gas means that if any gas is still is unconverted to sulfur, will be went off from into the tail gas section, which is known as TGT. In tail gas section, those gases are burned. Those gases contain SO2, COS, CS2, hydrocarbons, H2S, somewhat liquid sulfur also. They all are combusted and oxidized to SO2 before discharging from the stake. And from one end, from the one condenser, sulfur, the final sulfur is discharged from there into the sulfur drum. Now let me inform you that there are only two condensers for first and second, and for first and second hydraulic seal, and for the third and fourth hydraulic seals. Hydraulic seals are the portion from where the sulfur is discharged out into the hydraulic drums or pits. Now these condensed sulfur in liquid form, they all will be in S form. That means from S2, S4, S6 and S8 they are converted in the S form, in the elemental form. They will be sent into the degassing section. Degassing section is the second section, followed by the cross section. As I told you, in degassing section, if any H2S is still present in liquid sulfur, it will be discharged from it. It is again done using a catalyst known as titanium. Now in titanium bed, in a vertical and upright vessel, the titanium bed is placed. From the bottom, liquid sulfur is passed with the hot air. Now what happens that they both will go up or flow up co-currently or simple in a parallel form. Now the bed is only used to discharge or to decompose the H2S present, or to simply dissolve the H2S present in the sulfur, because there is also hydrogen polysulfide present, which is formed by the reaction of hydrogen sulfide with sulfur in the liquid sulfur. So what happens that by the degassing, in the degassing section, because the help of catalyst, the first target achieved is the destruction of hydrogen polysulfide to hydrogen sulfide, and then the desorption of hydrogen sulfide. And this hydrogen sulfide with the air from with the instrument air coming from the bottom, discharged from the top, and the sulfur flows right on top of the catalyst bed. This is how will finally recover the sulfur in elemental form, and it is sent after pumping to the solidification package. The third section is thermal incineration section, which will be discussed afterwards, followed by the solidification package. In solidification package, simply steel belts are present. Now in the steel, it is not discussed in the process description provided by NRL, but it's just my improvisation to you people, so that it will be a better understanding for you all. Now what we are doing here air showering or water showering from the bottom. Now from the atomizer, same as we studied in the drilling tower or in the spray drying tower, granules are made or pastiles are made. That means the liquid elemental sulfur is now going to be converted into solid form. Why do we do solid sulfur? Why do we form it? We simply form it just to make it easier for transportation. Transportation is obviously very essential and very important, because liquid sulfur cannot exist. There is no existence of liquid sulfur without providing continuous temperature, because if temperature reduces to 120 degrees centigrade, there will be a huge destruction in the pipelines and corrosion, and moreover hazards may also occur. So in order to minimize all those uncertain or uninvited or vague challenges, it is very essential to before transporting it, convert into solid form. This conversion is obviously done in a roto form, in a rotoform system. A rotoform system, from the atomizer the liquid sulfur drops, and counter current wise the water is showered from the bottom on the metallic plates. Now this continuous showering makes and keeps the belt always freeze and always cold, and by this the sulfur dropped from the atomizer makes gets a form of prills or pastils, which moves and solidifies with the passage of time, and they're collected in a silos or or in a stackyard, so it's easier for transportation. The liquid sulfur produced is also 52 tons per day, while the solidification of sulfur also yields 52 tons per day without any abatement. It means that there will be no abatement in the sulfur produced in liquid as well as in solid form. This is the target. Now the last section that was left is thermal insulator section. In thermal insulator section, all the gases are burned here to SO2 form. Now they are burned. Thermal insulator section actually utilizes three types of gases. The first gas is the vent top gases, from the second gas is the tail gases, while the final gases are from the steam ejectors and from the degassing unit. These gases are burned. It's very simple, there's no need to further explain it. It's all about the process description of the sulfur recovery unit. Again saying that the sole objective of sulfur recovery unit is to discharge the minimum amount of H2S 10 parts per million, which is the threshold limit value in the atmosphere. The second objective is to recover elemental sulfur, which gives us profit because it's a non-profitable unit. So by producing sulfur, obviously profit will be achieved, which is the ultimate requirement of the sulfur recovery unit, and because of which the unit is installed. So this is all about the first lecture. I'll be hoping to provide you more videos regarding this sulfur recovery unit. Whenever you find any problem, whenever you find any difficulty, feel free to ask me, feel free to comment me on the comment box or anyone. And this also video, I'm uploading it on YouTube, and afterwards we'll be sharing on the Facebook, on the group. And after posting it, after watching it, please must watch this video, and after that give me your feedback, whatever you understand, whatever you don't understand, wherever you are confused, because it's very essential for me also to understand and to make you people realize the importance of this unit, because it's a very important thing for all of us to understand completely and fully about the project. If we don't, then the Viva will be having very trouble. So to avoid all that, it's very essential for us. So I am hoping from everyone to watch this video, and any problem if you find any difficulty, please feel free to ask me without any bashfulness, without any shy. Okay, so from till now it's all over from now, and I'll be uploading it on YouTube, and afterwards sharing it on Facebook, on the group. So till that, Allah Hafiz.